everyone, this is Elmarie, callsign KJ5LXP, and if you're new here, welcome, and if you've already been following along, thank you all so much. I greatly appreciate the love and support that I've seen on this channel. This one took a little extra time to put together. It's short, but it's packed with information. I really wanted it to be clear and practical, especially if you're going to be exploring digital modes. If you find it helpful, feel free to leave a like, comment, or share, and definitely hit that subscribe button. Alrighty, let's get into it. If you spend any time listening on the HF bands lately, chances are you've heard of something that doesn't sound like voice, and definitely not Morse code. Instead, it's this rapid rhythmic set of tones repeating every few seconds, almost like a chorus of little robots. That's FT8, and it has become one of the most widely used digital modes in amateur radio today. Now I know FT8 can be a little polarizing. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people think it's too automated. And I understand where that perspective comes from. On the surface, FT8 can look like the computer is doing everything. You click a button, the software handles the timing, and the exchange is structured. But I wanted another operator's perspective, so here's what they had to say. Hello everyone, Elmarie here, callsign KJ5LXP, and today I'm here with Janice and Z5W. That's correct, right?
It is.
What are some of your thoughts on FT8?
I actually really like it. When I first started, I thought I didn't really understand why anybody would want to do a digital mode. I thought it was all about single sideband, but when I got into it, I really like watching the propagation. It's really a lot of fun to get DX stations, especially when, and I know we're going in, to the part of the solar cycle where we're not going to have the fabulous band conditions we've been having. So I think it's been fun and I've really enjoyed it.
What's I think so powerful about FT8 is that you can really get so far out on such like minimal antenna setup, minimal power. I know we got very powerful radios right now, but anyone with a 705 and maybe a fence antenna can, be making DX contacts. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I'm in a neighborhood with an HOA, so we have a very compromised antenna setup, and it's, there's a lot of days where I can barely get anybody on single sideband, but I can always get stations on FT8, and I'm really surprised at how well we're getting out with those conditions and all the the noise that's around town.
So would you say that FT8 is another tool in the toolbox, or is it a replacement for any type of radio, or how does FT8 supplement your radio style?
Yeah, for me it's not a replacement. I still love single sideband. I'd rather do POTA activations on phone all day long. But I love the propagation and really watching how fast, because sometimes it's frustrating. I was just talking to this station, where did he go? But if you're watching the propagation on PSK Reporter or Grid Tracker, or using one of the tools that come along with FT8, you can see where your signal's going and how fast the conditions can change. That gray line maybe moves just a tiny bit and you're gone. That station you were decoding a second ago is, I just had 5 stations in Japan and now nobody in Japan can hear me. So it's been fascinating. I really enjoy working with FT8.
So I was getting into, Cuba and South America a bunch, or another time I was really getting into Europe. And so it's just really exciting and cool to see, based on that type of day where your signal is going to be traveling into. What would you say to those who may be skeptical about it?
Well, I get it. I get that it's, a different ham radio was originally mostly CW and voice. And so I get that there's some pushback and it is polarizing. I've heard many people say it's not really ham radio, but I don't agree. I really like it, but I value the people's opinion, whether it's not as standard. It's not the thing that everyone thought ham radio was going to be, but I think it's fantastic, and I think maybe more people will get into it when we do lose the fabulous band conditions we're having, when the solar cycle starts to wane. And I've heard horror stories of you just can't get out on voice as much. So.
You would encourage anyone who hasn't tried FT8 to try it?
I would. I was very skeptical myself, the same reason. I didn't think I would like it. I thought, well, you're just sitting there looking at a computer, but it's a lot more than that. It's really fun. You can test your different antennas. You can test the different bands. You can, really see the difference. If you're not getting out on 20 meters, try a different band. If you're, and during the day, the bands will change and you can move around. So.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Janice, for sharing your thoughts, and let's get active.
Let's do it.
Cool. I really appreciate Janice taking the time to share that, and I hope you all found it valuable hearing another operator's experience. FT8 is a digital mode specifically designed for weak signal communication. It was introduced in 2017 as part of the WSJT-X software suite created by Joe Taylor, Kilo 1 Juliet Tango, and a development team focused on extremely efficient weak signal modes. FT8 was designed to be faster and more spectrum efficient than earlier modes like JT65. Unlike voice operation, FT8 doesn't rely on your ears to copy a signal. Your computer generates and decodes very precise audio tones. Those tones represent small, structured packets of information, like call signs, signal reports, grid locations, and acknowledgements. Because those messages are short and structured, FT8 can decode signals that are below the noise floor, signals you would never be able to understand by ear. That's one of the reasons why it's so powerful. Another key part of FT8 is strict sequencing. FT8 transmissions follow a synchronized 15-second cycle. One station transmits for about 15 seconds, then the other station transmits in the next 15-second window, and back and forth. This timing discipline is what allows dozens, sometimes hundreds of signals to fit into a narrow slice of spectrum and still decode accurately. And because FT8 is designed for efficiency, a contact is intentionally brief. There's no rag chewing, there's no long conversations. A typical FT8 QSO looks like this: CQ, response, signal report, confirmation, and then 73. And it's done. It's fast, structured, and efficient. Now let's talk setup, because this is the part where people get stuck. Here's the goal. We want your radio, your computer, and the software to communicate correctly in two areas: your rig control and your audio. So let's do this step by step. To begin, you first need the right driver installed. If you're using an Icom radio like the IC705 or IC7300 MkII, go to the Icom website and download the USB driver for your model. Do the same for your Yaesu radio. Next, install WSJT-X. This is the software that runs FT8. It'll handle encoding and decoding and controls your transmit and receive sequencing. After installing WSJT-X, I highly recommend installing Grid Tracker 2. This will be an easier way to visualize contacts, grids, and activity, and it's just one of those things that makes FT8 way more fun and usable. Now plug in your radio using a USB cable and turn the radio on. Here's what I want you to do next. Open your computer's sound setting and watch for new devices to appear. That is the audio path you're going to use. This is how your radio and computer hear each other. The computer generates tones and sends them into the radio. The radio transmits those tones over RF. Then on receive, the radio hears tones off the air and sends them back into the computer, and the computer decodes them. That is the entire FT8 loop. Now on the radio, you need to be in the correct mode for FT8. On Icom radios, that's generally USB-D, or a dedicated data mode. The key here is you want voice processing turned off. Icom makes this pretty straightforward because many have a preset option for digital operation, but for Yaesu, definitely check out your radio's manual to get started with that. If you've just received your IC7300 MkII, it's best to set your CIV address to 94H. You can do that by going to this menu option. Now go to Device Manager on Windows and look for your ports. You should see a COM port that represents your radio connection. Make note of the COM number. For example, COM12 or COM5, whatever it is, that COM port is what WSJT-X needs for rig control. Now we need to match the baud rate. In Device Manager, right-click the COM port, go to Properties, then Port Settings, and look for the bits per second or baud rate. Make note of the numbers because, again, the software needs to use the same baud rate or rig control could fail. Now on WSJT-X, go to File, Settings, then go to the General tab. You want to set your call sign and your grid square. This matters for logging and for the structured message exchange. Once completed, go to the Radio tab. This is where most people get stuck, so we're going to do it carefully. Set your rig to the rig that you're using or the closest one if needed. For example, I have the MkII, but I need to be selecting the 7300. Then you want to make sure your serial port. You want to select the COM port you found in your Device Manager, and then your baud rate. Set it to match what you saw in your COM port properties. Now go to your Audio tab. Set the input device to the USB audio device, and your output to the radio's USB audio device. When plugging in the radio, you should have seen those audio devices appear. This is where you'll select them in the software. If you select the wrong input, you'll decode nothing. And if you select the wrong output, you'll transmit nothing. Now go to your Reporting tab. You want to check Prompt me to log QSO. This will make it easier for completing your contacts. Otherwise, you might miss them. You'll also want to select Enable PSK Reporter Spotting. PSK Reporter is huge because it lets you see where you're being received even before you complete contacts. It's one of the fastest ways to confirm your station is working. Now go to colors. This is personal preference, but it helps you quickly interpret the band activity window. Pick settings that make it obvious what you want to prioritize. CQs, responses, or new DXs, whatever you care about, the options are here for you. At this point, if your antenna is hooked up and you're on the correct band and frequency, you should already be seeing signals populate the band activity window and waterfall. If you see nothing, stop and check your audio input device selection, your radio mode, and frequency. If all is looking well, you can also decide which band you want to operate in. Set your radio to correct FT8 frequency for that band. Once you're there, you should see activity if the band is open. Now, here's a big operating tip. On the waterfall, don't just transmit on top of someone else. Find an open spot, an empty slice. In the software, you can usually click an open area on the waterfall and it will set your transmit frequency. A lot of operators use the control key behavior to pick up an open spot precisely. The goal is to transmit where you're not stepping on anyone. Once you find open space, now you have two options. You can answer someone calling CQ or call CQ yourself. In the example exchange, I will call CQ. Here is what a normal FT8 QSO looks like. I call CQ, a station replies with my call sign, their call sign, and their grid square. I reply back with their signal report, they reply back with my signal report, I acknowledge, they send 73, and the contact is complete. It's quick, it's structured, and it's incredibly efficient. So why do so many people use FT8? One of the biggest reasons is how effective it is at low power. 5 watts or even less can legitimately get you across continents when conditions are marginal. That makes FT8 perfect for portable operators, QRP operators, anyone with limited antenna space, or anyone dealing with noise and difficult locations. It's also an incredible learning tool. If you watch the bands in real time, you start to see how propagation behaves. You see bands open and close, and you see signal shift. If you watch conditions change, you can see it change throughout the day. Now yes, FT8 gets criticized. People say it's too automated, that it's not real radio. But here's my take. Successful FT8 still requires skill. You need to understand propagation, you need frequency discipline, clean audio, correct setup, power management, and good operating practices. It's not a replacement for SSB or CW. It's just another tool in the toolbox. Ultimately, FT8's popularity reflects one simple truth. It works. It allows operators to make real contacts using minimal power, modest antennas, and even in less than ideal conditions. Whether you end up loving FT8 or just using it occasionally, understanding it and knowing how to set it up opens an entirely different dimension of HF operating. FT8 changes the way that you observe the bands. You begin to see propagation instead of just hear it. You notice patterns, you see grain line movement, and you watch signals fade in and out across continents in real time. It becomes less about long conversations and more about understanding how radio actually behaves. And at the end of the day, that's what amateur radio has always been about. Experimenting, learning, adapting, and exploring the spectrum in different ways. FT8 isn't replacing anything. It's simply another layer of capability. And now that you understand what it is and how it works, you can decide how it fits into your own operating style.